Hey, this is Tracy Lewis from Stuff and Things. On March 18th, 2017, we hit the road in our RV with the intent of full-time RV travel. A whole bunch of crazy things have happened since then, but we have concluded our third year, and I do a report every year. I do a video, and I'm a little late in delivering this. There's just been a lot of crazy things happening this year, as you guys all know, with the whole virus thing going on. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that, but this will mostly focus on what happened in 2019. I'll talk about what we learned during the year, what changes we've made, and what are our future plans, and then we'll talk about our rents that we paid. So, year 3 was interesting. We live on the road because we are landlords, and we do try to be home for any major work that needs to be done. That is one of the reasons why actually we got into rentals, is because we have the skill set to be able to do pretty much, I'd say 90% of all of the maintenance tasks that go along with having them. So we came home in June. We took care of one of the rentals. As the year went on, we had a couple of other things to take care of, which I will talk about in a later slide. And we ended up, as a result, staying, and we're still here in the Pacific Northwest. So what we can say, without a doubt, is we absolutely hate being in the cold and the wet here in the Pacific Northwest. The fall-winter weather is just horrible. We're used to being outside, being active every day. We are disc golfers, and it's one of our main retirement things that we do. So we're very used to being outside in nice warm weather, and the Pacific Northwest just does not meet that need for us at all. So that is the number one thing that we learned in 2019. So the other thing that we learned that right off the bat that we needed our own internet. So we did rent a UDP line. Within the first 4 months we got that. So as we ran that, it worked pretty well. But by 2018, it was in the fall of 2018, because we were in Florida at the time. We were there for 9 weeks. Loved Florida, by the way. That's another slide later on. But with me trying to run YouTube videos, and then my husband loves to play computer games, one internet connection through a cellular connection just doesn't handle the bandwidth of trying to do both at the same time. So I would be doing things like in the middle of the night, after he goes to bed, I'm trying to upload a video to YouTube, and it may take 2 hours, and there's no way that I can do that while he's trying to play a game. Plus, we like to play the games together. So ideally, it would be nice if these videos would be uploading while we were actually playing a game together. So we now have, and I say we actually have 2 different unlimited networks, but in actuality it's 3. We have our original rented UDP line, and it's pretty expensive. You can't really find them for rent. They come and they go. But price-wise, we're paying a little bit under, I think, what the market is right now. So I'm pretty pleased, and I will never let that line go. Then in 2018, as I mentioned, I ended up getting a second unlimited line, and that is through Verizon using their prepaid unlimited. And I noticed now that as of like December of 2019, that unlimited line is no longer available, but we haven't changed ours. We've kept ours going, and so ours is grandfathered in. So we, in essence, have 2 different unlimited grandfathered plans. The one that I pay through the prepaid plan to Verizon directly is way, way less expensive than the UDP plan. And even though it has a little bit of throttling during congestion times, you know, like 5 to 9 p.m., it'll bog down. And if we are in very close to a city, for instance, it also will get throttled. But there is no throttling based on how much usage. And I use about 200 gig a month, and Hub uses another 200 gig a month. So we are very, very active internet people. Then the third one is in our new truck. We pay only $20 a month for that. So running the multiple networks has really made our whole household between the two of us very happy. And I actually now do have two computers of my own. I have an old laptop that's an inexpensive laptop we got in 2017.
Okay, I have to do a redo here. What I'm trying to get at, but I don't say very clearly, is that I now have two laptops, one from 2017. Hub has an identical one from 2017, and I now have a brand new gaming laptop.
Sometimes when you're playing in a game, there's wait times for queues for different things that you do. So having two really makes me happy. I can be way more productive that way. So the third thing we learned, huge. Never would we have thought that this would be as problematic as it was. We had to replace our 2004 truck. It was on the schedule. We knew that in our first 3 years of traveling, if we hit that third year, we would evaluate our truck. We purposefully bought an older one-ton dually. It's a Dodge. It's the 5.9 Cummins. It has the standard transmission. I think it's a 65 RFE or something like that. And it's pretty loaded with things, though it is not even a Laramie level. It's an SLT, but it has aftermarket things in it, like the airbags, which we have used and have found to make the ride very comfortable for us. But boy, the engine is very underpowered, and it, though has always ran for us and always gotten us where we needed to go, it definitely feels long in the tooth, and we know that there's more adequate power out there to be found. So we spent all of 2019 figuring out a truck. And then we spent from, say, July on actually trying to buy trucks and had a very difficult time. So we will have a slide dedicated to that I will share with you.
All right, so moving on. What specific interesting events happened while using our memberships? The first bullet is about Arizona. We actually stayed in Florida for 9 weeks, from October through middle of December. While we stayed in Arizona for the 4 months, we used a mix of memberships. In fact, all three listed there. We stayed at Thousand Trails through Christmas. We got stuck in a snowstorm. That actually delayed our leaving to go down to North Ranch. When we were at North Ranch, which is an escapee park, we paid electric. It was our first time paying electric or being on metered, and it took a couple weeks for us to settle down. We were all paranoid that it was going to be very expensive, and it ended up only costing us $55. From there, we then went over to Prescott to Fairgrounds RV. There we also paid electric. It was a little bit more. We paid $70. And then we went all the way down to another higher elevation location called Sierra Vista, and it was very inexpensive to stay there. It was only $300 for the first month because we had a site that was just gravel. That site wasn't available the second month, but they had one with a cement pad, and so we paid $350, and altogether those 4 months cost us $1,485. And my budget I was working with was $1,500. We did learn that we do not like Arizona as a place to buy an RV property at, so we plan to head back to Florida to go search for properties. We liked Florida way better.
So one of the things we did learn, this is just if you haven't already experienced it, we do all of our ordering through Amazon Prime, and have generally only ordered when we were at a location long enough and where we could get things from UPS sent to us. When you order from Amazon, they don't tell you how they're shipping it. We just assumed everything would be coming, if it's coming from the warehouse, that it was coming from UPS. And we found out at Fairgrounds RV in Prescott, Arizona, that when we ordered 4 things, 2 things came from California via USPS, and we watched them come across, and then we watched them leave. They were rejected because There is literally no USPS mail service at all at Fairgrounds RV at all, period. And so we had to call and cancel those orders and reorder going to general delivery so it would be at the USPS for us to pick up at the local post office. So that's what we ended up doing. So that's a lesson we learned. And then the 5th month was in December. We actually had a second rehab come up that because it took so long for us to buy a truck, we found out in October when we had ordered a truck that we'll talk about, that we were going to get a vacancy of our second longest tenant that we've had. The previous longest tenant had been there 19 years in their unit. These were people who was their 14th year and they were leaving. So we stayed so we could get that rehab done. And we already knew when we bought the property, we knew that when they left, it was going to be a gut job. So we were all prepared for it. And then they ended up staying 7 more years. Go figure. So that actually was a good rate. I was not expecting Mount Vernon Thousand Trails to have any availability for monthly stays because 3 years prior we had asked and they had like a wait list of a very 2 or 3 year wait list. So when I asked them if they happened to have an opening for 1 to 2 months, they snuck us in for $495 all inclusive. So I thought that was great. Then, what kinds of things have we changed? Big item, we have a new truck. The experience of trying to buy a truck. Hub had a list. He wants a certain color. He wanted the ACEN transmission. He wanted the larger motor, of course diesel, airbags, and then prepped for fifth wheel with the puck system and the camera so that you can look in the camera when you hook up, which is interesting because that's my job that I do. I always back the truck. I do all the backing. He does all the forwarding. And so the first truck we had for 3 weeks. It ended up having a catastrophic issue with the fuel system that the place we bought it from was very gracious and gave us our money back. They actually gave us you can keep the truck and we'll fix it. But they wanted to do some of their own testing and we weren't really comfortable with having even the truck came with a warranty, but of course this kind of a fuel system compromised situation that was going to cost $15,000 made us really nervous. So we went ahead and returned it. They had another one that was a Longhorn and it was brown and we loved it. So we had nested in it and everything. It was like our truck. The second truck, we only had one night. We had it sent up to us. They sent it, it was through CarMax again, and they sent it up here for free for us. But it was a Laramie and it was pretty beat up. And the first night I asked Hub if that was his dream truck, and he said, nope, not my dream truck. So we returned it. At that point, we had already had such a difficult time finding the truck with those 5 features that he insisted they have. He didn't want white, he didn't want gray, it was brown or black, and that was it. So we ended up investigating pricing on a factory order. We ordered it in October. We were already told what the discounting would be for that time, and we're told when it comes in 6 weeks, there's different discounts available, you will get those discounts. And we actually ended up saving $2,000 when we went to pick it up. The price changed because it was employee pricing month. So we're very happy with the truck. The only problem Hub has with it is that it is black, because that was his color. My color choice was brown. And the black matches our trailer perfectly. And unfortunately, it is very dirty. It gets dirty instantly. I told him we're on gravel roads in these campgrounds. And so the truck is going to constantly be dirty, and it'll be your job to keep it clean. And so he has washed that truck probably more already than he has washed any vehicle he has ever owned. But we're very happy with it other than that. And we have since not sold the silver truck. We didn't need to sell it financially to pay for the next truck. And we're really glad, since we had to we kept having to return trucks, that we never sold the silver truck, because, though we have family, we're buying in an area where we have family nearby. Nobody has a truck big enough to haul our home, and we move every 3 weeks or so. So it was really important that we kept the silver truck, and we don't even know when we're going to sell it now with the whole coronavirus thing. But that's all right. So we basically, every time we move, one of us drives the silver truck and one of us drives the black truck with our rig, and it's fun. So the next big change, we actually had the first opportunity to go with a inexpensive silver exchange healthcare plan. It is $400 cheaper. It's actually a little more than $400 cheaper than the plan, well, any of the plans that we've had. So this is our third year, and we're going to try this one out. It appears as though, the co-pays are cheaper, the deductible is cheaper, and it is way cheaper per month. So we're pretty pleased with that. There's some small things that we've changed. We have a priority system. When we're looking for campgrounds, we have to make sure that it has good cell service. That is just an absolute, gotta have it. For instance, McConnor in Thousand Trails, in McConnor, the first year we were traveling, it had no cell service. It's on an Indian reservation. There were no Verizon cell towers. By middle of 2018, they had installed a cell tower, so now we get to stay there, and it has wonderful service, and we love it. We need to be close enough to disc golf to be able to drive there, and it has to be like less than 30 minutes. And it was hugely imperative after a stay we had in Pacific City at 1,000 Trails, where it was at least 15 minutes of driving up and down twisty roads, bumpy roads at 5 miles an hour, that we stay up toward the front of the campground. This year things are still the same for priority 1 and 2. We have to have cell service. We must be close enough to disc golf. But now we prefer to not see any other RVs, and we will go a little deeper into the park to make sure we find a site that has out our big window, which is on the passenger side. We don't want to see any rigs, and certain campgrounds that's not possible, but if it's possible, that's what we look for. We still use our water pump 100% of the time. That is a trick we learned early on. Russian River, the first year we were there for the 3 weeks, and water pressure was terrible, so we stopped using city water, and we shifted to using our water pump, and we've used it ever since. So we basically always keep our tank full, and that worked great. Our water pressure never changes. So that's a tip for anybody. If you don't like city water pressure, just use your water pump. The next big change, well, I call it a small change, but it ended up being a significant change, which Hub and I had stayed in our same spots in the rig. I have a desk over by the fireplace that you can rotate around. Oops, sorry. It's a free-moving desk, and then Hub had the stationary dinette that he moved over 4 inches toward our recliners so he could put in an office chair. That we did for the first 2 years. It got to be where he was always cold, sitting at the window, and I was always trying to get far away from the fireplace because I was too warm. So we switched places, and it has worked out wonderfully. I get the wonderful view out a big window. I have now a shelving system to keep all of my crafting supplies, since I'm a crafter and I do YouTube videos and with the crafting, and so everything gets to stay in one place. Now I do put it away when we move, but at least I have the shelving unit gets to stay, and I just take everything off of it so that things don't fall off. So we are loving our new places since we've swapped, and that's kind of about it as far as small changes. Future plans. Everybody asks us, we're going to be, this is starting year 4, and we already had planned to go down to the coast, stay by the water, in Washington and Oregon, there's 6,000 trails, and we were just going to stay at them 3 weeks at a time from like December through May. But between our tenants leaving, so we stayed the month of January or December. We didn't have to work into January, so we could have left in January. By that time, there were talks of the coronavirus, and we were thinking, I wonder if we should stay where we have insurance, because our health care is only for Washington State. So we decided, okay, well, maybe we'll just stay in Washington State.
Because of the seriousness of the coronavirus, we decided that we would stay not just in Washington State, but close to where our primary care providers are, so that in the event that we need any medical care, it's with some familiarity. So we will be staying in our home region probably through the time when all of the shelters in place are lifted. You know, it doesn't seem to make sense to us to head to Florida if they have a bunch of coronavirus cases going on. We'll just wait till everything settles down, and hopefully that will be sometime this summer. Our goal with the property is to have a vacation property, so to speak. It'll be an RV site that we will be looking at, I think. But we'll see, because once we're there, things can always change.
Our trailer is wonderful. We love everything about it. It's the same floor plan as our first trailer, but it is much better made. It is, we've toyed with, going with a slightly bigger rig that can have a king size bed, but we have the queen size bed. We have the shorter, it's a 32.5 foot, and we're just totally happy with it, and we're not going to change that. We are very excited to get to take our new truck over every big pass we can find and get to Florida and check that whole lifestyle out. I think we will stay there for the winter. It may be because it gets really expensive. The in-season in Florida is January through March, so it might be that we will head back to Arizona for some low-rent, nice weather camping, and it's possible we will pick Sierra Vista as a place to stay because we can play golf there. We do want to find some disc golf events. They're all canceled right now through April, just like most sporting events are canceled. But once things get back going again, we would like to maybe go and attend maybe the Junior World Championships or the Amateur World Championships or something. That would be kind of fun for us. All right, so let's talk about rents. It looks like a lot of money. $29.34 is what we paid in rents for 2019. And going back to 2018, we paid $1,330. And of course, that extra $1,500 you see was my budget for staying in Investigating Arizona. So far this year, we have lived in Thousand Trails for free. So from now through April, we have not paid any rent. And we are going to be staying, by the way. So that's a quick thing to mention. Thousand Trails here, when we were in La Conner, people were coming and going. La Conner Thousand Trails was allowing campers to come in for the weekend, and it kind of felt weird to us when we were in shelter in place. And so our next place to stay was going back to Mount Vernon. And after our 3 weeks were up, they called because they wanted to cancel on us. But when I explained to them that we are full-timers, that we don't have a home to go to, this is our home, they let us come in, and there are 115 people living in this campground who full-time, who have the membership, or they might be annual people who pay. And we are allowed to stay until the shelter in place is lifted, which right now is May 4th, and that would give us 5 weeks of staying in the campground. And I looked at the original Thousand Trails membership videos that I had done and wanted to see if there was anything to update on that. And I will tell you, in 3 years, we've only had 2 sales calls The first one, we explained to the guy that we loved our membership, and that worked really well, and he just left us alone and asked us if we had any important questions. He was totally okay with the fact that we were not interested in buying an upgrade, because that's pretty much how the Thousand Trails system works, is by people buying memberships and upgrading their memberships. So this year, we were asked to make an appointment, and we figured it was going to be an upsell type thing. And so I started off immediately, like I had the first time, with that we loved our membership. This guy totally blew that off. He didn't care that we loved our membership. It was all about himself, talked a lot about himself, says 100% of all of his calls turned into a sale, and I just took offense to that, and pretty much we broke his great record of 100%, and we absolutely did not make the sale. He even brought a supervisor on and had the supervisor say, is there anything we can do to convince you to buy this upgrade? It's like, nope, we love what we've got. And thanks, but no thanks. So just be aware that if you have a membership or you're thinking of a membership, you will get called whenever their cycle is for trying to upgrade you. We have an older membership, but it is a 3-week stay. You can stay in the park system. You have to just leave for 7 days from that particular park, and then you can come back to that particular park, and you can make your reservations up to 4 months in advance. So our membership is perfect, and we don't want anything else but that. And just be aware of it, and don't be offended. Just don't let them get to you. You know, you're not going to spend the many thousands of dollars that they want you to spend on an upgrade, and you already have what you want. And then again, I was really happy with the Thousand Trails allowing us, well, 2 things now. So I could add a 3rd bullet because we're already into April, and that is that they allowed us to pay $4.95, and yes, we paid $495 for an extra 1 week, but it happened to be that we would have had to move on the December 23rd, which is my birthday's the 22nd, and then we had all sorts of family things going on because it's their first time we've been home in 3 years, so during the holidays, and so we just didn't want to have to be moving during that 1 week, so it was worth it. And then, of course, now we're loving how we're being treated during the coronavirus, so I have nothing but good things to say about Thousand Trails, even though that sales guy really made us annoyed. That concludes my update. Be sure to leave any comments or questions for me in the comments section. They do get approved, so go ahead and ask, and then I will respond with an answer when it gets posted publicly. And then be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel for more full-time RVing videos. Thanks for watching.